welcome to this episode of EngageCast. I'm your host, Avlesh today, and with me I have Bharat from Junglee Games. He's the VP of Marketing at Junglee Games, joining us for this podcast today. I am particularly very excited about this. Junglee Games is India's fastest growing gaming studio, which builds skill-based games. And Bharat leads the marketing for the company, and it's one of the fastest growing businesses in India, a very particular type of business. And I'm generally very excited to bring out the insights from this industry, hear from Bharat about what are the challenges that gaming as an industry faces in general, and how does he go about solving those, especially on the engagement and retention side. And everything that we need to learn about skill-based games and real money games in the Indian context. So welcome Bharat. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Avlesh, for the kind words. Really excited. The feelings are mutual.
Good to hear. Okay, so Bharat sir, we'll begin with you telling the audience what does Bharat do at Junglee Games. In fact, let's begin with what does Junglee Games do, and then what does Bharat do at Junglee Games.
Yeah, so we are, as you said, in one of India's fastest growing online gaming studios. We have presence in 6 countries. So basically launched in 2013. We've launched a couple of free-to-play games, Teen Batti, EatMe.io, but our bread and butter, the winner, as is with all traditional gaming studios, is that you need just one winner. And then you can launch in more game spaces. That is Junglee Rummy, which is India's fastest growing rummy game, real money rummy game.
Yep.
And why I say real money is because you've never in your life would have heard about a term called real money. It's always money. It's always cash. There is no real money or real cash. So that's a term which is purely used in the gaming vertical in India.
Well, in our startup world, we create a lot of these paper money called equity capital. So yeah, I mean there is a lot of that non-existent money all over the place. But I hear, so yes, RMG it is.
Yeah, so it is RMG, real money games, which are basically games of skill. So what we try to do is build games which are purely based on your skill, so that you can play, not just spend your time for entertainment, but also play while getting entertained, but also have a real chance at winning real money.
Nice.
So that's what we do. What I do is I just come to office every day, try and tinker around. Acquisition का meeting चल रहा है, retention का meeting चल रहा है. Try and just figure what's happening, what's not. But like in all seriousness, just trying to figure out how are my metrics doing daily. What's my CAC? What's my CPA? What's my LTV? Is retention going down? Is acquisition going down?
Yep.
Apart from that, just something also try to contribute a little to social and branding. But yeah, in a nutshell, just trying to solve like one problem a day, trying to solve one problem a day.
Sure. Okay. Helpful. For the purpose of the audience listening and tuning into this, will I be correct in saying that the typical customer for your games is an average Indian user? And what is the demography of that user?
So the demography varies a lot. As a mandate, what we have is anyone, male or female, should be 18 plus.
Okay.
Should have a KYC. So we follow all the rules by like laid out by the government of India.
Sure.
In fact, all our users, almost all our cash users are in fact KYC'd. So we have proper documents. And in terms of demographics, it varies for Rummy as compared to, let's say, Houseat, which is our cricket fantasy product. Yep. So Rummy is a game traditionally played by the people in South India.
Oh,
so
okay.
Hence the mature markets are AP, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, some parts of Maharashtra, Gujarat, and we are seeing some small pockets in North and East India also. Okay. When it comes to and predominantly male, as is with almost everything in India.
Right.
And for Houseat is again, since it's a game which involves cricket, is just popular everywhere in India. But again, the mandate is 18 plus, a slightly younger demographic when it comes to Houseat. So it will probably be 18 to 30, 35. While for Rummy, it is around 20 to 45.
Okay. Most of them working professionals, I am assuming.
Most of them working professionals, Houseat, first jobbers, second jobbers. Rummy is a slightly more mature audience, people with families, people with kids. And some have their own business. I've had the privilege to meet a lot of our players. There are professors, there are artists, there are book writers, stockbrokers, guys in banking, IT. So yeah, a lot of varied roles when it comes to what our players are.
Awesome. So as a follow-on question to that, Bharat, we hear a lot about skill-based games, right? That term, and I think we have not all of us really understand it, in the way it should. Would love to hear from you. How do you define skill-based games? What are the other types, and what makes something a skill-based game?
Great. So something which is something which was clearly spelled out by the Supreme Court of India, by the Honorable Supreme Court of India, which is how is one game defined as a skill-based and how is one defined as a luck-based. Basically, these are two types of games.
Right.
A very basic example is any game that involves rolling of a dice.
Sure.
So that's purely a luck-based game. You have no clue. But more from a one versus one standpoint, let's say you and me are playing, and then you playing for the first time, and I am like a pro user.
Sure.
Even if we play 10 games or 20 or 30 games, I will win at least 80 to 90% of the time, basis my skill, basis my experience of playing that game. And that is a game like Rummy, which involves card counting, checking what you've dropped, what the other player is picking, patterns, sequences, numbers. Versus a game like Deepati, where even if you're a beginner, that is why there is a term like beginner's luck.
Yeah.
Where you playing your first Diwali,
right,
against your mamas and chachas who've been playing it for 10 years, but still you're the winner.
I know.
That's because it's purely dependent on the 3 cards that you get.
Correct.
So that's in a very rudimentary form a difference between a luck-based and a skill-based game.
Understood. And is there a sort of a broader outline around which games specifically qualify as skill-based games in India?
So in India, the games on the top of my head, if it's Rummy, it's cricket fantasy, it's bridge, and it is horse racing. That is why you can play all these games in clubs in India, and especially in Bombay. Have you been there?
Once, yes, once.
Okay.
I don't enjoy it much, but yeah, I've been there once. Okay, cool. So now getting from there to now getting to the actual meat of the matter here. So hearing so many different things about, we get to hear, at least in our life cycle, in our journey, we come across e-commerce businesses a lot. We come across travel businesses, fintech businesses, education tech businesses, all different flavors, different problem statements, as far as retention and engagement is concerned. Would love to hear from you, Bharat, for our audience. How do you look at your retention funnel or engagement funnel differently from a typical, commerce venture? Is it any different, or is it all the same?
So just basis my experience in food tech and e-commerce, the acquisition journey almost remains the same. A user sees a banner, clicks, and then lands onto your landing page. Now, the landing page for a Foodpanda or a Paytm where I worked used to be a Google Play Store. Here, since we are a real money game, so we're not allowed to list our game on the Google Play Store. Hence, my app is hosted by on AWS servers, but ourselves. So we are responsible for hosting our app.
Okay.
So that's the first difference, is that the user has to download the APK.
Right.
So it's there on the App Store. It's not there on the Play Store. We have a free version on the Play Store, just so that we don't lose out on the organic searches that are happening. Because that's the general tendency of a user, to just go on the Play Store and search.
That's right.
That's how we've been raised in India. As digital users. So you kind of have to show him a warning that, okay, when you click on this button, Android will kind of prompt, do you want to download from unknown sources? So that's one big challenge when it comes to downloading. So our install to registration ratio will not be as good as, let's say, of a Foodpanda or a Paytm, because everyone is used to a Google Play Store. Then in terms of registration, like in a Paytm or a Foodpanda, now I think what people have enabled is that even if you're a new user, you have to register.
Correct.
Earlier, back in the day, people could just browse the website. and only when they were about to check out, they had to enter their information.
That's correct.
On our platform, people have to enter the information, a mobile number, an email, password. This leads to a lot of drop-off. So you'll be like, why are you creating so much friction for the player?
Yes.
That's purely because we want to ensure that only real people are able to play the game. There is something known as responsible gaming, which is we want to ensure that 18+ people play the game. There is no fraud happening. Anyone who comes, we ensure that, okay, we have the documents and etc. So whatever we do, whatever friction that we create in the system, we try to ensure that eventually the player who comes into the system is a real player.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, these are some challenges that we face as an industry. So it's not just us, but that is an industry. But I think with the advent of so many real money games in India in the last 2 years, people have kind of now realized that, okay, this will be the process. This is what will happen.
Yeah.
Maybe in 2014 or 15, this would be difficult. But now I think everyone now understands that, okay, there is a process which is different from the Google Play Store. We would love to get hosted on the Play Store. Of
course.
But yeah, this is what it is. So these are certain challenges that we face.
This Play Store limitation, is it it's an industry-wide challenge, or is it India only?
It's one India only challenge.
Okay.
But I would I don't think I'm in a place to comment what they're doing in the rest of the world. But so, for example, certain games like fantasy have kind of been legalized by the various states in the US. So it kind of works very differently in different countries. I was marketing Teen Patti in the Middle East. One day a notification came saying that you cannot have in-app purchases in the Middle East. Just like that, you kind of have to face these curveballs or be ready to face these curveballs at any moment.
Awesome. Before I get to the specific questions, Junglee has had phenomenal success, and we have been proud partners in the latter half of the journey. Bharat, please take us through certain some of these broad highlight numbers, so that the audience can put everything into context, so that we know what general scale context we're talking about. When you're answering the subsequent questions, where is Junglee today in some of the broad metric terms, whatever you can share.
So we are, as I said, we are a 7-year-old company now. Right. We've gone from 10,000 users, 100,000, a million users to now more than 25 million users across the world, across all our games.
When you say users, these are registered users.
These are registered users.
Okay. Not necessarily paying customers.
Not necessarily paying customers.
Sure.
So that in any case I'll not be able to tell.
That's fine.
But yeah, more than so let me get back to you with that number. Avlesh, how many people, how much time have people spent playing our games? But yeah, in terms of apps, we now have a House Ad, we now have Rummy, we had EatMe.io, which was a huge success, which is a huge success right now in the US and Europe. We had Home Run Heroes, we have Junglee Teen Patti. So all these games have contributed to these 25 million users. And in the last, now what we've also seen is that a lot of data science is now, we are now very, very bullish on the data science part of it. Mm-hmm. So we've evolved from just being like a gaming studio, right, focus on product. But now how can we ensure that all the journeys, all the recommendations, how can we automate and how can we have like a better experience for players across all our games? And WebEngage is a great enabler, I would say.
So happy to hear that. Yeah. So happy to hear that. Any broad context around what would be a daily active number of sorts, Bharat, for you guys? Just a broad number, doesn't have to be.
Will be very difficult for me to comment.
Okay, that's fine. Take it. So now going back to one of these questions that I had in mind. You talk about US a lot. That's probably the place to be as far as building a game is concerned and distributing a game is concerned. And then what comes to mind is China, Korea, economies like those. How is India different from these ecosystems? Other than the fact that we are very, very poor and we don't have money to play games. What is different? What is fundamentally different?
I don't see. I used to believe in that philosophy earlier. that India is not a gaming, like we don't have a gaming culture,
Right.
and people don't have money. I think what has happened in the last few years. So I used to market Team which, and in fact, we are the highest ARPUs in India at that point of time for a game. But what people have now realized that us as Indians, we Indians have won a lot of time. But what we want to do is also try and get something out of the system, or also try to get something uh, when we are investing time in playing a game.
Yeah.
So I think the gaming culture was always there. It was just purely people didn't have 3G or 4G or handsets. Now, if you roam around in a metro in Delhi, you would see probably everyone, like, or not everyone, but a lot of people just playing a game. This did not happen 3 or 4 months back, pre-Geo,
Right.
pre-cheap smartphones. Like it used to be like a privilege. Only if I have an Xbox,
Yeah.
or then you used to be a gamer.
That's
Now you can be a gamer on your phone. It's very difficult to sell virtual chips to Indians for real money.
That's right.
Like that's something which is extremely difficult. And
True.
now people have realized that okay, if you show them very clearly that okay, you'll win 10, 20, 30, 40, 1 lakh rupees, people are willing to invest their time.
Okay.
So it's not. I think the mindset has shifted, and that's why you see all these real money gaming studios now just booming across the country, which is great for the overall industry.
Okay. Talking about people and their propensity to pay. So I do remember this from our last conversation where you were mentioning this thing called whales, which is essentially used to sort of identify some of the large spenders on the platform. Do they exist? That's the first question. I think your answer is yes.
Yeah, just like the unicorns.
Just like the unicorns, are they mythical too? But anyway, now we have more than a dozen unicorns. I'm sure there are.
Yeah. So they do exist. They do exist.
Super.
See, it's just that people. There are you. If someone loves to watch Netflix, people spend 2 hours, 3 hours every day just to watch their favorite movie show.
Yeah.
So we are competing with people not purely in basis of, let's say, money or share of wallet. We are also competing in share of time.
That's right.
So if we can provide as good entertainment as a Netflix or someone else to a rummy player, then half the battle is won.
That's a very interesting thought. But how do you sort of match the user engagement and satisfaction that I get after watching, let's say, a Narcos as compared to playing a rummy?
I love Narcos, season 1 at least. Season 2 also, but season 3 was a drag. But yeah, I think if you are, let's say, you're the Pablo Escobar of rummy, how can I ensure that this is the best app that is there for you?
Fair.
And you spend like that, the app, you'll spend so much time on the app just because you love the app and you love playing rummy as a game. So
Sure.
It's not also about you love the app. Obviously, you love the app, that is why you play, but you just love
the
playing
game.
rummy.
That's right.
Which you could probably play 10 years ago with your friends or with your family, but you're not able to play right now.
That's right. No, fair point. And are there any specific characteristics that this segment of whales do they illustrate certain specific characteristics? Is your engagement or retention strategy for these guys any different from the rest of the pool?
So I would not say the rest. So we have a lot of cohorts that we've divided our overall pool of users into. So these guys in general, when I've met them in life, are one very sharp, very numbers oriented. Because in rummy, if you don't have a hold of your numbers, you'll not be able to be like a good rummy player.
That's right.
So these guys are very sharp, very successful in real life also. They're doing well, whether it comes to their family or their job or their overall standing in life. What I've also seen is that they're very picky or they're very finicky when it comes to their experience. So they want the best experience that a game can give them, or they want the best customer support. They want the fastest withdrawals. So they would want the game to load fast, no lags, the product to work beautifully.
Yeah.
So that's just that, like, whatever they want, either in life or in the game, just has to be A class.
Sure. Sure.
And that's what we strive towards when it comes to our whales, that okay, if they're calling us at like whatever time, there is someone to kind of pick the call, or at least reply to them through an email.
Yeah.
Their withdrawals are never stuck. If they want to talk to us in Kannada, we should be able to, like, we must be able to talk to them in Kannada.
Wow.
So we try these small things.
Very demanding customers is essentially what you're trying to say.
Yeah, very loving. And demanding.
Very loving and demanding. No, we all love them. Junglee has been such a customer for Web Engagement. We exactly know how it feels. I wanted to ask this earlier too. So I know you are a real money game. And my understanding is that's primarily, the source of revenue for you guys. Is there any monetization via advertisement in your platform? Do you even focus that as a revenue channel or no?
No, like a big no.
Okay.
If you've actually put in money to play, there is no way we'll show you an ad.
We'll show you an ad, right? So are there any great examples in the Indian context, Bharat, where great sort of gaming products have come out with ads as their monetization model as compared to getting users to pay?
Yeah, I think Ludo King is a prime example.
Are they big in distribution?
Yeah. Ludo King. One is a free-to-play game.
Right.
It's a lot of, like, a majority of their revenue comes either from in-app purchases or from banners. And we all know how India is when it comes to, again, free-to-play games.
Yep. I played because you mentioned I play this with my daughter all the time. She's a
they have I think they got Mika Singh also to sing their
yes.
song. But yeah, that's a crazy game. Like, just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
People didn't even think that Ludo would be such a viral, massive phenomena.
That's right.
But it is right now. And Ludo King, I think, is a prime example of just earning a lot of money through monetization on that.
Understood. So there is. I think I both the opportunities. What I'm getting to hear from you, in terms of building a business. In as far as the gaming product line is concerned, you're saying both the possibilities exist. You could go the RMG route, or you can get the ads route, and there are examples where people have
there are examples in both. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Getting to very specifics, Bharat. Now, you talked about cohorts a lot. I think any specifics that you could share in terms of what are those cohorts like? What are they based on? How do you sort of segment these people? Is it based on their monetary value, or is it based on their frequency of usage, or the or your acquisition channels? How do you sort of segregate them? What does different segments and cohorts in your ecosystem look like? And subsequently, the question further to that is, how does engagement for each of these, differ from each other?
So basically, we advertise on almost all channels.
Yep.
Whether it be Facebook, Google, the App Store, affiliates, networks in India. We also work with OEMs. So then you have your typical acquisition funnels where users come either from an organic source or a refer a friend or the paid sources. Right. Once they register, they become my players. So now it's my responsibility to kind of handhold them, for them to play a game, either a free game or a cash game, and make a deposit and eventually keep on playing with us. So as soon as that they register, then all of them become almost equal for me. And then after that, it is my job to ensure that, okay, how can I make it extremely frictionless for them to play their first game? Because if they're not able to experience what the product is, then all my user journeys, cohorts, etc., stand for nothing. Sure. So the first job is to make them play a game, and after that, obviously, basis your typical RFM model, which is reach, frequency, monetization. So then we have our typical cohort that, okay, this guy falls in M score 5 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. So what's the combination of his or her RFM score, and where does the user fall in the cohorts? So there are journeys which cater to the R score if someone hasn't visited us. There are journeys which caters to the M score if someone is not playing as much as they used to do. And there are journeys which obviously cater to the F score. And also what we do is, how can I ensure that, so these are journeys, so basically it will involve sending a push or an SMS, but how can I ensure that the user spends as much time in the system as possible?
Sure.
So how can I ensure that there are certain nudges in the system
Yep.
When I'm able to identify that, okay, now this user will churn, or
Right.
the user is about to churn.
Sure.
So how can I ensure that and then if I'm able to make the user play so that this guy goes longer and longer into the system.
Interesting.
And then automatically, if the user progresses basis his M score, then he falls into certain cohorts, which, as you said, are whales, non-whales. And then we have internally, we use some metrics on a scale of 1 to 10 that, okay, this is where this player lies. And how can I ensure that the user migrates, let's say, from a 10 to a 1
Okay.
in terms of his or her spending time with us.
Understood. Okay. So I understood everything around, you're trying to say the frequency, as well as the monetary value, segmenting and then running those journeys. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is push notification the biggest channel of engagement or communication for you?
So I'd say both push and SMS also, but primarily push. So so basically, let's say you're a free user. You're a new user, which by definition would be that you are a free user right now. You haven't deposited.
Okay.
So there are typical attributes that these users have. People who want to play a practice game or play for free. They're obviously smart enough to understand that, okay, if I just start my journey from playing a cash game, obviously there is a possibility that I might lose my money.
Right.
So how can I just understand the system? So these guys play a lot of practice games. These guys play a lot of free tournaments.
Okay.
So we have a lot of free tournaments every day through which the user can win up to rupees 3 or 4 lakh rupees just by entering for free. And we have player testimonials where people have deposited 10 rupees, 5 rupees, come out winning a Royal Enfield Bullet or a trip to Singapore, etc.
You want me to quit my job?
Yeah. So there are just play in your leisure time, maybe 11 to 12. But yeah, there are a lot of users like these who are smart enough, who understand basically the risk and understand the risk and reward ratio, or understand their own internal risk that, okay, this is what I can take. And then we try to cater to such users through our free tournaments. Okay. And there are users who just want to quickly make a deposit and start playing cash games and start winning.
Sure.
So for them, we have cash tournaments. For them, we have leaderboards. For them, we have tournaments which are spread throughout the week, throughout the month, which have like a grand prize of 1 crore or over. So that how can I ensure that these hardcore players also remain in the system, while at the same time ensure that, okay, people who want to just play for free and still have that chance to win via their skill are also being catered to.
Okay. So going back, I think thanks for putting the context. Going back to the question about push being like the predominant channel for you to engage. We get this asked a lot at WebEngage, and as a practitioner, would love to hear your view on this. So for apps, and especially in the gaming category, because of all these compliance restrictions, the apps not being available in the App Store, or the Play Store, and you have to sort of download an APK, host it somewhere else, and run it on your phone. Are there any delivery challenges around push notification that such apps face compared vis-a-vis what's downloaded from the Play Store or the App Store?
Yeah, I think so. There are, and that's where like obviously people like you step in. Where, for example, we were not able to. So certain issues around FCM migration, certain issues around if the app is able to deliver a notification to, let's say, a OnePlus phone or a Xiaomi phone. Then because in India, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo together hold a huge percentage. That's right. Of the mobile phone market. That's so yeah, if the app is not listed on the Play Store, how do I get a ping from Android back to kind of ensure also that the deliverability is there? What the panel is showing versus what's actually delivered, or the other way, it's being tracked or not. So yeah, there are certain challenges that obviously we do face since there is no connection with Android as such. Like there is, but it would have been like much more seamless if the app was listed on the Play Store. And coming back to the question, if push is a preferred medium or SMS, I think people have moved. Like I think P1 would always be push notifications, more personal, more customized, trigger based. I think with the WebEngage, obviously SMS becomes like a fallback option of sorts, or a
Right.
preferred. So, for example, some users prefer getting an SMS.
Sure.
Some users prefer getting a push notification.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the beauty of something like a web engage, where at least I can segment users basis the preference of their communication channel.
Sure.
But as a marketeer, I would always want push to be a preferred channel,
That's
just
right.
purely because of the flexibility that it offers me.
That's correct. That's correct. And do you see any possibility whatsoever getting the SMS variant moving more towards something like a WhatsApp, or you still think SMS will continue to stay the way it is as far as Junglee is concerned?
SMS, I think, still will be, although all of our users are on smartphone, but I think there are still users who are new to a game or to a segment, or just and they don't understand notifications as much as they understand. I think there is also I don't know, that's my personal opinion, but I still think a lot of users who are new to the internet also have a certain trust which is there on an SMS. I don't know, maybe that's my personal bias, but that's my personal opinion, but maybe that is.
Okay.
In terms of, I would just love to see SMS as a channel evolve like a push notification has done.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I would love if someone is able to solve as a channel.
Sure. Okay. Very cool. So what, there's a lot happening at Junglee, and I know you're trying to put together. How big is the team, Bharat, and how is it structured?
So there have been
Sorry, just a little context for this question. So I think one of the bigger challenges that most people listening to this podcast face, and we get this all the time, is how do I go about structuring our marketing teams, especially given that retention being a part of it is also a very very niche skill, and we don't have much sort of talent in India. Which is slowly and gradually changing. It'll be very nice to hear how the teams are structured at Junglee, how your team is structured, and any advice that you can, right? For the audience in terms of how should they go about, especially for the first timers, who are getting started.
Since the time that I've joined, we've actually doubled in size as a company and as a marketing team. I joined when we were about 160 or 180 odd people. Now we are inching towards a 300, 350.
Wow,
that's the engineering, customer care team, marketing, BI, product, all of this combined. Okay. When it comes to the marketing team, when I joined, there were 20 people. Now it's almost ballooned to 42, 43 people.
What are these people?
Hardworking folks come in every day.
I'm sure. Yes.
Listen to my yarn, and then go back. But yeah, it's structured into your typical acquisition, retention, social, branding, content teams. And there are 10 people in each team. We take retention as I said, in gaming you have to take retention a little more seriously. So it's not just a team which kind of sends push notifications and communications.
Sure.
It's a team which so we have, as I said, so we are now very heavy into data science and BI.
Yeah.
So we have alerts being fired almost every hour that X metric is down or Y metric is down, whether it be revenue, whether it be deposits, whether it be people playing on the site, number of games. So there are at least 30, 40. We overwhelm any new joinee that kind of joins to the they're like, why are you measuring so much data? The answer is that if you don't automate things, someone will have to just do it manually. So that is something that I learned through Ankur, is that don't throw people at problems.
Amazing learning. Yes.
That's I think he was able to automate back in 2015 almost all the issues that we are facing or we're trying to solve right now. But yeah, coming back, our retention team is structured into there's Anuj who's the retention head, but then we have dedicated people purely to work on web engage. And as a mandate, what we've also done is anyone who joins the team has to learn about the panel.
Nice. That's amazing.
So yeah, there are in terms of structuring the team, what I would recommend is that if you can get as many specialists as you can. So basically, in the initial 6 months or 1 year, you would obviously want generalists in your team,
Right.
people who can just make sure that you are going ahead.
Yeah.
But then slowly and steadily, what we've also realized, and I think what's the typical journey is that you understand that you need specialists.
True.
You need someone who understands the in and out of web engage or any other
That's right.
panel that you're using.
That's right.
Who understands the in and out of communication, someone who understands the in and out of looking at numbers, how to look at numbers.
That's right.
Our retention team has 2 or 3 people for web engage across one game, and then 3 people to just look for data, any clues, any hidden, anything that can help us either increase the numbers or pause any kind of issues that are happening.
Right.
And then I keep on bugging them all day long in any case.
Super. Okay. And just for my understanding, the people who are who are playing on your platform, the business model is not a subscription-based business model. Right? So I come in today, I put some money, I play, and then I come back again and put some money and play. Right? And there's no subscription revenue of sorts for you guys.
No, there's no.
Okay.
Everyone is free to play whenever or wherever they want to.
So how do you, in a business like this, with typical subscription revenue, right? It's much more easier to think and quantify churn and measure it. But in a business like this, how do you quantify churn? When do you say that a user has churned?
Okay, so we have basis, as I said, basis the cohorts that we've divided people into. Our basic, what is the primary motive that we have? Our primary motive is for user to play a game.
Right.
Now it could be a free game or it could be a cash game.
That's right.
Now basis the cohorts and basis the propensity that we've identified for a particular user, if he or she plays a free game or a cash game, we've kind of through the years of experience that we have, we've kind of identified that okay, this is the day or this is the week. Week is a very long time. This is the day when the user will churn.
Oh.
Obviously, it's not as foolproof as it sounds to be because obviously it's a work in progress. But then we know that okay, this is a user who will churn in XYZ day in X days. So then you have like a dormant user, an about to churn user, and a churn user.
Wow.
So how can I ensure that I hit you with the right communication when you're just about to churn, so that you don't churn. But churn is inevitable. Will happen. How can you ensure that okay, in that about to churn period, whether it be for a free user, whether it be for a crash user, whether it be for a whale or a non-whale,
right?
Okay, how do you ensure that in that about to churn period you're able to reactivate the user? Easier said than done.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, that's what we keep on doing day in day out in retention.
Sure. Are there any sort of ballpark benchmarks around churn numbers? If I had to say, let's say, I don't even know how to quantify it because I don't have a baseline. But a 6-month churn or a 12-month churn, are those metrics even applicable in a business like yours?
Yeah. I'll probably give you an example. I'll try to give the closest example that I have.
Sure.
So, for example, for whales, we have a 90% ratio in terms of activity. Like people who've kind of hit that whale benchmark once.
Sure.
Out of that, 90% should always be active.
90%
on a weekly basis.
So you have 90% retention for whales, is what you're saying?
Yes, week on week.
Understood.
So then 10% becomes my churn.
Sure.
For people who are at a lower segment, so months, Avlesh, to be very honest, is a very long time.
In your word, it's a very long time, right?
Yeah. The user. So I'd mentioned this to someone like people who played like I have played a lot of games. I was once hooked to Candy Crush. Oh. I played till level like I don't know 250, 300. But then one day I just stopped playing. Like I just stopped because like. And there's nothing that the game did in itself, like the product was good, etc. I just stopped playing because I didn't feel like. This just happens to a lot of games because आपका 10 दिन का deadline आ गया, or you're on a vacation, you just start playing the game, and then you just don't feel like coming back to the game, no matter how good or no matter how how much you love playing that game.
Interesting. I'll have to think and go back in time to realize why I stopped playing Angry Birds.
Yeah,
I was like I don't know, any minute that I had free, the only thing I would do is play Angry Birds.
yeah,
And I don't know when was that moment, but it was very abrupt like this.
yeah,
I just stopped. I don't know
yeah,
why. I never had I still don't, till date, I don't have a reason why. But I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked.
yeah,
So I can relate
exactly.
to what you're saying.
Yeah. So, and then what happens in a real money scenario? There are so many factors that come in. Like
Yeah.
you like, I just lost a game, and you'll be like,
Just be that,
आज
right?
तो यार लक नहीं चल रहा है यार, नहीं खेलता, 3 गेम लगातार हार गया, आज मैं 2 जीता बट एक आखिरी गेम हार गया. Like sometimes there is this phenomenon whereas आज का आखिरी गेम तो मैं जीत के जाऊंगा. Like you only stop playing a game when you won a game, right? Because you want to sleep
Of course.
with that high.
Of course.
Now if that doesn't happen, you're like यार ये क्या गेम है यार, मैं तो नहीं खेल रहा.
That's correct.
Or someone else who's just more skilled than you beat you, or you just got great cards but you couldn't win.
Yeah.
So there are so many factors that come in when it comes to a real money game,
Right.
that it becomes very, very, very imperative to track everything on a daily basis.
Sure.
You never know what just might go wrong.
That's right.
And it's not that you can call up the users and be like, sir, kyun nahi khele? And they're like, acha, this is exactly the reason why.
Nobody's gonna, even if you call, nobody will tell you. So
Yeah. So hence it just becomes extremely, extremely important.
Understood. Fair point. But the one takeaway from this is very clear that the big spenders, the likelihood of them being on the platform is much more higher.
Yeah.
Right, as compared to the other ones. So I am Avlesh, the game developer, building a game for India. What's Bharat's advice to me? What should I do? What should I not do? I'm a very smart game developer, but it's just that I'm all by myself. I have no money to do marketing. I have no money to do anything else. What should I be doing as a game developer?
You should talk to Junglee Games. We're trying to see if we can talk to brilliant game producers.
There you go, people. Bharat is hiring great game developers. Please feel free.
But yeah, I think what we've seen is that the more and more, and I think it's very cliche.
Yeah.
But the more simpler that we've tried to make everything, whether it be our game table, whether it be our journeys, whether it be the way that a pop-up is shown, has just increased whatever metric that we wanted to track and increase. A very simple example being our pop-up, our in-app pop-up. We had it in brilliant colors like red color and yellow, green, very graphic, nice. As soon as we switched it to a very simple plain white background, people started responding more.
Wow.
In terms of our game table, we had I think across the industry, people show their cards in a very tiny form when it comes to the table.
Sure.
We show big cards, the cards are big in size, so that people are able to understand. And it has worked well for us. So just these tiny things, which very common term which is used in the gaming industry by all product developers is can your mom play it? If your mom can play it, especially when we are building products which is for India 2.0.
That's right.
I think India 2.1.0 ने तो बहुत सारी games खेल लिए. So it's the people who are on TikTok, it's the people who are just mobile first and purely TikTok first also. Aajkal I think people are Facebook second and TikTok first.
That's right.
I just read it somewhere where Facebook is trying to get installs from TikTok. Like Facebook, I don't think kahin pe aur add karta hoga.
Wow.
So, but if there are things like tiny things like these, otherwise gaming as a product is very commoditized right now. Like you'd see at least 100 developers having the same product.
Yeah.
So it's just tiny things like these which kind of help to improve your metrics.
Super cool. So Bharat, no, this was very, very insightful, very, very helpful. Thank you so much. With that, I am to the last section of this EngageCast episode, which is rapid fire round. We'll keep it very simple. I have 4 short questions for you, and we'd love to know you from the answers to those questions. First, I'm assuming you're a book lover. Do you read?
Yeah, I do.
What's your favorite book, Bharat?
So Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Zen and the Art of?
motorcycle maintenance. Nothing to do with Zen, nothing to do with motorcycle maintenance.
It's about something else. What is it about?
It is just about someone being very high and writing it, and just a lot of philosophy. How did philosophy originate?
Oh, sounds intriguing. I'm going to put it on my reading list. Which one's your favorite movie, Bharat?
If I have to not sound like a snob, then Andaz Apna Apna. If I have to sound like a snob, then Shawshank Redemption.
Well, the latter one is favorite for everybody. It's my all-time favorite too. I missed the first one.
Andaz Apna Apna.
Andaz Apna Apna. Of course, it's everyone's favorite, and you don't have to be a snob to like it. What's your favorite travel destination?
Budapest.
Beautiful place. Okay. Last question, Bharat. What's your advice for budding CMOs or CMOs, especially in context of user engagement and retention, which is becoming sort of a mainstream theme, at least in India? What's your one big piece of advice to them?
Okay, just feel very very small in any case when I'm advising to fellow CMOs. But yeah, if I had to take a shot to then I think what I have tried to basically trying to break down the problem at a user level. What I mean as a user level is as a user as compared to breaking down the problem as a marketer.
Yeah.
So what generally keeps on happening is when it comes to, let's say, banners, people try making banners that they love versus people putting out banners that people like. So a very simple example, but anything that you can do when it comes to understanding preferences of your user, calling them, meeting them.
Yep.
I think that is when you realize that, okay, this is the guy that you're talking to, as compared to what was in your mind, that, okay, this is the guy that I was talking to.
Yeah.
So yeah, just try to meet them and talk to them as much as you can.
Getting into your users' shoes, that's one of my favorite asks from all of my leadership team and my on-the-ground team too. All of us should learn how to do that perfectly. Bharat, this was amazing and this was very, very insightful. Thank you so much. I wish you all the very best for doing all the great work that you're doing, and wish Junglee and your team and all of you a very, very amazing 2020. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Avlesh. It was a pleasure talking to you as well.
Awesome.
And let's meet soon.
Let's meet soon. On that note, now this is the end of the podcast.